that you want to submit for me to talk about in our sessions, I would love to hear from you. So, today's conversation is going to be a great one because if you have ever felt yourself in a position that you're like, okay, I need to get things organized, I've paid for this system, and I'm still feeling as if I'm stuck. So, this is going to be perfect for those of you that are feeling that your Honeybook is feeling really messy. You're maybe pretty overwhelmed by all the things in which you can do inside of the platform. And you really probably are in a place that you're feeling that is very underused just because you're having some blocks. It's probably not just a tool that's giving you the problem. It probably is some disconnect on your actual workflow. So today we're going to really have a great conversation around one, how to use Honeybook, but most importantly, I am, one second, we're going to have a conversation. And I told y'all I was going to try to get better with sharing my screen, so that y'all are able to have the best impact. And with that, okay, so in today's conversation, what we're going to be talking about is, oops, not the right slide. It's going to be why your HoneyBook workflow cannot work unless you actually understand your own workflow. And this is going to be really great for those of you that are really in this position that you're just like, I want to start using HoneyBook. However, I just do not have that clarity. Okay, so one of the things that I did want to have for y'all to do, because again, I've been having these conversations and different consultations, as well as some of the clients I'm supporting right now with building out their actual HoneyBook. They're feeling as if like they're overwhelmed with the CRM that they chose, but it's really a disconnect in understanding what their true processes are for their client. So this is where I find that most people can find themselves a little bit disconnected is because you are buying the software first and then you're going in and you're creating different things for with no true clarity. And automation is like, okay, let me try to create automation because it's in there. And I keep hearing how amazing the automation is. But then the reality is that you really probably haven't thought through truly what is the workflow that you're wanting to have inside of your business. And so today I'm going to show you how to create a workflow before you actually put it inside of Honeybook, and I'm going to be breaking it down into 4 simple phases. And the thing about it is that I will, by the end of this video, share with you how that looks inside of Honeybook. Because when I'm working with people, the first thing that we always have to do is that we have to actually build out what kind of workflow before we actually jump inside of the CRM. So I want to share with you, one second. So today I'm going to share with you 4 things. And today we're going to go over my 4-stage workflow framework that I teach to people that work with me, as well as if you're someone that's an OG to this channel, I talk about it quite often. But we're going to go over my 4-stage workflow. I'm also going to be going over why skipping this step causes chaos and burnout, because when we are making ourselves the sole source for everything inside of our business, burnout is inevitable. It's not when and how it's going to be. It's not going to be if it's going to happen, it's going to be when it's going to happen. And then, of course, I'm going to walk you through a real life example of how a very simple setup could look like for an event venue. But of course, I know. People are like, well, I don't have a venue. I do this, I do that. The goal is for you to look at the example that I'm going to give you and see how you actually can apply this inside of your business. And then also to be able to help you with identifying if there are things broken inside of your business, what that actually can look like and how to go about fixing it. Alrighty, so let me escape out of that. I swear, y'all, once I get like really smooth with this, I'm going to be really on point. All right. let me know if you are someone that's watching and you are currently using Honeybook or you have been thinking about it. Comment in the chat box and let me know by dropping workflow because I want to hear from you to know if you're currently using Honeybook and if you've been thinking about it. I do also do have inside of the description of this live stream a link for those of you that do want to try Honeybook and you're looking to save money on your subscription. I do have that in there for you. Alrighty, so one of the things that we're going to go into is why workflows actually fail. Why workflows fail, it really comes down to just not having clarity on what you want your client experience to be inside of your business. That is going to be the key to this. The workflow isn't just a list of automations. And to be honest, I feel like that can be a disconnect as well, is because workflows and automations, I know that they can be used fluidly depending on the person and, yeah, truly the person. To me, workflows are essentially the steps in the processes that you're putting inside of an automation, but I do know that people use those words interchangeably. So, regardless if you're someone that is confused as to which one, essentially, your workflows are the steps and processes in your client journey that your client is experiencing with working with you, or just even the steps that you're doing to implement and execute your services in house as well. And I think sometimes what happens when we're dealing with workflows and automations is that we're only thinking about our client facing task. We're not thinking about how do I automate and streamline the things that I'm actually doing too to execute those services because everything has a process, regardless if you're aware of it or not. So, the biggest thing that you want to think about when it comes to your workflow is that it's really your decision making map for your business. This is the roadmap inside of what's happening inside of your business and what you truly are wanting to happen inside of your business. So, one of the things that I wanted to share with you were some statistics that I found very helpful that I think will be helpful for you. And so, the one statistic that I thought would be extremely helpful for you to know is that there's and this is and when I saw the number I was like, wow, like I know that it's a big issue, but I don't think that everyone understands exactly why this issue is something that you do not want to prolong addressing. So the one of the reasons why some workflows actually fail, and I saw this statistic, is that small business owners spend 30 to 40% of their time on administrative tasks rather than working on revenue generating business. This is a pretty big statistic to be present to because the thing about it is that if you're not actually aware of what you're doing inside of your business and the time that you have allocated to actually execute your business, what you'll find yourself doing is being busy. Burnout is often caused by just always being busy. And being busy doesn't mean growth. Being busy doesn't mean your business is actually going in the direction that you want it to happen. And the thing is that businesses without documented workflows are far more dependent on the owner and making it nearly impossible to scale or grow. And this is common for those of you that might be, you know what, I tried to hire someone, but I was doing everything myself because I had to do all these things and da da da. Or I've had multiple times people come to me and like, oh, I want to hire someone, Jesse, but who should I hire first? And I'm like, well, what would the person do? Because we don't have clarity on the steps and the processes, it makes it very hard for us to even know how to begin the hiring process or the skill sets in which we want to have someone help and support us with. So, when we're actually out here creating tasks and doing things inside of our business, it's going to be important to understand and the thing is understand that your processes and steps will change as your business grows or just the length of time that you're inside of running your business. Like I've been an entrepreneur in my own event business now for about 15 years. And because of that, um, how I first started doing my business is not the same way that I handle things now. And that's probably going to be the same for some of you, regardless if you're newer in business or you're a little bit more seasoned. chances are you're not doing things the exact same way. So, the thing that I wanted to go about this is just understanding if you do not define the journey, Honeybook cannot fix it for you. So, if you put confusion inside of your platform, it's only going to produce pretty much almost nothing or really disjointed actions. So you want to make sure that you have clarity on your workflows before you even go inside of Honeybook or whichever CRM that you're using. So this is not just a Honeybook thing, this is a CRM technology thing. So you do need to have some form of clarity before you actually go into it. And the thing is that when you use great platforms like Honeybook, is that it's going to be great at executing the workflows and processes that you want your client to experience. So it's not just about having pretty documents, it's about creating and designing a flow that's going to help supporting you with actually executing the services that you want your client to have and that you're selling. Okay, so now let's get into um, the bulk of our conversation. All righty, present, and here we go. I'll do this. Alrighty, so let's dig into this 4-stage framework. And if you're watching this live or as a recording, comment. I'll answer any questions that you may have through this process because I do get that this stuff isn't almost natural for people to think through unless you've had to do this inside of your career, your corporate career. Okay, so this framework is whether it's going to be something you have to think about regardless if you are a solo entrepreneur or solopreneur or if you have teams. This does not matter if you are a wedding planner, an event planner, a balloon stylist, a venue owner, or just a creative service based business. This is going to be true for anyone that I have personally worked with. And by thinking about it in this way, it's really truly helped people with understanding more about what they want to experience inside of their business. All right, so the first stage that we're going to be going over and talking about is going to be the inquiry phase. Okay, so in the inquiry phase, this is where we're going to, hold on one second. I'll stop sharing. Okay, so in your inquiry phase, this is where you're going to get the clarity that you need inside of your business. And it's going to help you of understanding how to qualify and disqualify people that are inquiring about your service. Depending on the service you have, the region you're in, it's going to ultimately depict or dictate how many inquiries you're going to be getting and where those inquiries are going to be coming from. Because some of you may solely rely on social media, where some of you are doing really great at Google My Business and people finding you from your website and things of that nature, or through referrals. Like it doesn't matter where you're getting your new leads, or it's just important for you to understand where they're coming from, so that that actually helps you with understanding what type of inquiry process you want to create. For those of you that may be getting a lot of your inquiries from like the knot or the wedding wire, it's going to be a different workflow for those of you that are relying solely on social media. So you do want to have clarity on where you're getting your leads from. And if you're someone that's new in business and you don't have that understanding yet, I would say just start with the basics of hoping that people are coming through your inquiry form that would hopefully be on a website. So I would say at least start there because you want to have a way for people to get inside of your workflow. Okay, once you know exactly where they're coming from, now you want to actually think about what information do you need to know up front. Please do not talk people out of working with you because you have a dissertation of an inquiry form. I've seen this before. I've helped people before. I've actually even tried to reach out to vendors to work with me in the past that did this, and they had all of these questions. And honestly, I didn't know the answer to some of these questions because I don't do what they do. And that can be what is a disconnect, is that sometimes I feel as if people are using jargon that people in the industry know, not the language and the jargon of your actual client. So, what information do you need to know first? Is it going to be the name, of course, their name, their email, their phone number? For some of you, you may or may not have a deal breaker on the dates. What type of service they're coming to you for. And then maybe like one or two other questions. I usually tell people or recommend to people, you don't want to ask more than 10 questions on your inquiry form because you're really guaranteeing that people are going to be lying. Because if you have anyone that's remotely like myself, anything over 10 questions, I'm just trying to fill this out. I'm not trying to answer all these questions. I'll give you the basics, but like you're trying to have me put in color schemes and all that kind of stuff on an inquiry form. Like I want to get your feedback too. like so just be present to that. And then think about what should actually be happening. Sorry. Ooh, I felt hiccup coming. You should think to yourself, okay, now also in my inquiry process, what should be happening automatically versus manually? Like I'm working with several clients right now that because of the type of service they have and their demographic, they want to have initially a inquiry form. Once it's completed, they want to have a email go to that client letting them know that they should expect a phone call within 24 to 48 hours. And they wanted to have some kind of reminder for them that they need to call this person. So for them, there's an automatic function of an email going to their lead. But then there's a manual step of there's automatic step of letting the client know that their inquiry's been received and that they can hear from them in 24 to 48 hours. I have an automatic task that goes on that project to let the customer that they should call that lead to let them know. And I also have an automatic task that moves that actual client to a stage in their funnel that says call new lead. The reason why is because when we're busy, people let leads fall through the cracks all the time. So when you're creating your workflow, it is not just, again, only client facing. This is to help ensure things are not falling through the cracks and that it's a seamless experience for your customers and your potential future team members if you don't have a team. So think to yourself what needs to be automatic versus what needs to be manual. So, as I mentioned, the common mistakes that people make in their inquiry process is that you're asking way too many questions. And then I feel that also in the inquiry process, you're making too many assumptions. Like sometimes what happens, I've worked with people in the past where maybe they do balloons or venues and things like I would say definitely for the venue people is that they'll have a mandatory, you have to say the date that you're looking to hire, like rent out their space or caterer. They have a mandatory date requirement, which is fine. But then let's say they know they're already booked on that day, they will immediately either one, two things, not respond to the person, or they'll immediately say, I'm not available, and that's it. Instead of actually saying, we are actually already booked for this day. Do you have any flexibility for another date? Because the reality is that some people may have flexibility. If someone's coming to you because they're trying to plan a birthday party at your venue, it may be, it must be on February 2nd or February 3rd, or it might be, you know what, I'm trying to do it in 2 or 3 weeks. I'm a little bit flexible. They may have some flexibility, so do not disqualify. So the important thing you want to think about is making sure or treating every inquiry as a potential yes into your business. And inquiring is just, and having a solid inquiry process is about protecting your time and not just booking clients. And it's also giving your clients a great first impression, which is super, super important. Alrighty, so now let's get into the second phase that we're going to be talking about. And that second phase is going to be And that second phase is going to be your onboarding phase. So on your onboarding phase, in my world, I always assume that onboarding is when someone either signs a contract and or makes a payment. I know everyone that watches this channel has different types of businesses and different types of client experiences. That very first step might be different for me for you. So take heed of what I'm sharing, but onboarding is you're onboarding this client because there's some type of confirmation that they chose to work with you. So we want to make sure that there is going to be some clarity of communication when it comes down to clearly communicating to your client about what are payment expectations, making sure you're getting some type of contract that's signed. You want to make sure that there's some type of education that's being sent to your client for onboarding. And this is super important. I'm going to say this. Like, I think that this is super important for us to remember because you are the expert, not your client. So I have had it where people make assumptions about what they think their clients know about the service in which they provide. I know I've given this example before, but I think this is going to be a very helpful example for you. So, when we're talking about um, helping to give education, let's say you have a wedding venue. Unless someone's gone to your specific venue, they don't know all of the steps to make sure that they're having a great experience for working with you. I've also had it where someone I worked with, they did custom bridal gowns. One of the initial steps we had was a what to expect. And that was explaining to people when they came to get their first fitting that they needed to make sure they had on heels close to the height that they wanted to wear their wedding day, as well as just wearing undergarments. Because someone may not know, and that's what is important to remember is like don't make assumptions. Like don't think that your clients know that they need to have X, Y, and Z. Because she actually has had people come to their first um, like fitting or session with no undergarments on, no shapewear, no bras, like completely. And it's okay if you do that in your personal life. But the thing is like if you're going to get something built for you, you definitely want to make sure you have on the proper garments. And think to yourself, like when you're onboarding a client, you want to have some type of internal prep that's happening between the scenes. So for me, in my onboarding process inside of my event business, I have a step that tells me to create a workspace for my vendors. And once that happens, I have the system wait 2 days for me to confirm if those vendors have actually signed their contract. So then I know that the vendors that were scheduled for that specific event are booked. The reason why is because I am human. I expect to make mistakes 1,000%. So I build a system to help me not have to remember everything and get it right all the time. So I have those reminders, and because in the past, like years and years ago, I had where people signed contracts, or they didn't sign contracts, or I didn't send the contract. I've had all of those variations. I've also had it where I sent people contracts, and because they weren't available, they didn't reply back to me to let me know that they weren't. Because again, a lot of this channel, to be very honest, is because I have worked with a slew of different vendors in the event space, and it's been a interesting journey. And I've been hazed a lot from people. Not everyone's not professional. Everyone doesn't know how to clearly communicate. Everyone doesn't have integrity. There's a lot of components to it. So this is why I say you don't want to make assumptions, because everyone doesn't treat their business like a business. They treat it like a hustle. So you want to be able to make sure you have these safeguards in, because I had in the past sometimes where I sent people contracts, the contract may have gone into spam. They thought they signed it, but they didn't sign it. Like there's different things that can occur. So that's why I put safeguards in that are internal steps so that I'm making sure things don't fall through the cracks. So you want to think to yourself, how do I tie in the things that I need from my client, but also being able to ensure that the steps I need to do internally are being considered. So take out pen and paper and really allow yourself the freedom to think through, okay, if I'm a event venue, what are the steps I need to do? Do you need to make sure you have cleaners booked that day? Do you need to make sure that you have specific rental equipment available? Like, again, there's so many variations of one type of business type that I'm not going to go into like crazy, crazy detail about. So you want to be able to use your onboarding process so it reduces client confusion and revision cycles, which directly impacts your profitability. Every time you're talking to a client, every time you're touching something is costing you money. And if it's not costing you money, it's costing you time, which is costing you money. So um, I am very present to the amount of times I'm touching something because I want to price well so that my time is being billed accordingly. Because if it's taking a lot of time and I didn't bill accordingly, that's impacting my profitability and my ability to actually handle my clients the way that I desire to handle them. Alrighty, so again, just be clear about what you want your client experience to be like because that's going to really help you along the way. Alrighty, I just wanted to see if I had any questions. Nope, no questions yet. All right, so now I did want to talk to you about something that I am personally really excited about and that I want to share with you. And here we go. Alrighty, so I just want to let you know if you've really been enjoying some of the things I've been discussing today, I actually decided to host a free webinar that's intended to help you with being able to understand where is your business really stuck. This is for those of you that just are a little bit confused and overwhelmed when it comes to the data and the numbers inside of your business because I get it. This is not sexy. This, especially for creatives, like numbers and all this stuff really can be extremely overwhelming. And I get this. So the goal for this is that I want you to be able to get past the mess and overwhelm that comes along with running your business, and to help you, giving you clarity on what to fix next. So if you would like to get to, and I have limited space on attendees, just so you do know. So if you want to get your free ticket, scan the QR code so that you're able to come and attend. And then the thing is, as well, is that if you are watching this as a recording and it's past February the 7th, there will be this webinar available on Evergreen so that you can download this. So this free workshop is really created to help you with identifying what stage your business is actually stuck in, the workflows that are costing you time and money, and what to be able to fix next inside of your business so that you can create strategy to move forward. And I've spoke about this on previous conversations, lives, as well as YouTube videos that are really talking about don't just set goals without having clarity on what your business is doing, and what works and what is not working. So this conversation is really intended for those of you that are needing to be able to understand more about this. And I'm really happy and excited to do this because I've gotten questions, I've received questions about this, and I want to make sure everyone is at least being able to feel a little bit more confident in this decision inside of, or this stage of their business. Alrighty. So let's get back to today's conversation, and let me get back to that screen. Sorry. Okay. All right, so let's get back to our framework. Alrighty, so now we're going to be in the third phase of our framework. And the third phase is all about your execution phase. The execution phase is going to be different from each and every person. With the execution phase, this might be making sure several months before an event, like I have a wedding photographer and videographer I'm working with right now. For certain types of weddings that they do, they typically like to schedule a wedding planning session 2 months before so they know exactly what kind of images they're wanting to capture, and what's the vision, the space, and all those different things. So that's a part of their execution. Also, in part of a lot of people executions that work with me specifically, I always want to have event day questionnaires that are going out anywhere between 3 to 2 weeks prior to the event, so that you know exactly where you're parking, how to get into the space, when can you get into the space, who should you be asking for, and just some final details that people have a lot more clarity on. The things that I find that people typically are asking when they don't have automations right in the beginning of the process. Someone is booking you 8 months out. They don't know those questions. And if they do give you those answers, I'm going to guarantee you that a lot of those answers are not going to still be true, closer to the date. So this is where you want to make sure that you're not only thinking about the things that are necessary for you to communicate to your client, you also want to make sure you're having things that you need to remember internally. So, as far as internally, it might be making sure, like if you have team members, so like with this videographer, they want to make sure their team members that are booked for those events, that they get booking sheets so they know exactly what time to arrive, the things that they're responsible for, dress codes, all those things can be communicated in a workflow to their team members. For internal situations, I've had it where people that have event venues, they have a step like a week before where they're making sure that they have specific type of equipment and event decor available. Again, it all depends on your business and the service in which you are providing. When we're talking about offboarding, this is when we're talking about I've executed the service, now what? Because you want to make sure you're closing the gap. You don't want to have a transactional business. I've spoken about this plenty of times before. You do not want to have a transactional business. You want to make sure that you are thinking through, okay, how do I get reviews? How do I check in with people? Or like with this specific wedding, the photographer and videographers, I always tell people like 24 hours out, post event, you want to have some communication. Let them know it was great working with you. You can expect to have receive your first draft or your gallery within X amount of days or X amount of hours. Like give people communication because really that is the whole point is you taking your clients from one step to the next step and you giving them clarity, beating them to the punch before they're having to reach out. And if you're not doing this effectively, that means that you're now getting a lot of inbound calls and messages because you're not beating people to the punch. So, like, even with the execution, I like to make sure that usually anywhere between 3 to 5 days before a booking, there's communication going to that client so that they know that and I call it an event day reminder. And the reason why it's an event day reminder is because I want to remind them that we're on top of this. We're ready for your event that's coming up in a couple of days. We just want to let you know that you can expect to see us on this at this time. And it's a time to reiterate the location. It's a time to reiterate the event booking times. Like, because it's important to do this because they're going to reach out to you anyway. If you've been doing this long enough, you know that they're going to reach out to you anyway. So, how do you actually communicate this to your client before they reach out to you? And that's something to remember when you're doing your client journey is that you want to make sure you're beating the client before they are calling you. Teach them how your process works and bring them along the journey. So when we're on our offboarding, you can communicate what are the next steps, or it can just be a thank you. Some people I know, they like to do thank you gifts to their clients after they work with them. It might be a photo gallery, it might be like a little business card with a little gift basket. Again, everyone has different levels of service from basic to extreme luxury. So you can build in your workflow those steps. But this is why I said you want to take to pen and paper. What do you want as your consistent workflow for your client experience? If it's going to be making sure everyone is getting a link to leave you a Wedding Wire review or a Google review. If you want to also have a review questionnaire, which I usually recommend to anyone that work with me, have a review questionnaire that's going to someone several, like 7 to 10 days after they work with you as well. Because on a review, like on Google My Business and things like that, people are going to tell you how much they love you unless they had a bad experience. They're not going to tell you the things that would help you with actually improving your workflow and services. Well, where on a review questionnaire, you can ask, what did you love a lot about it? Was our communication great? Is there anything you want to let us know on things we can improve on? Like those are the things you can put in your offboarding process that are really geared towards helping you understand more about your client and the things in which they are expecting. Okay, so if you made it this far, I want you to let me know how you're enjoying what I'm talking about. I know this is a heavy lift, but I really want this to be something that's going to help you with understanding what to do inside of your business. So I've gone through my four-stage framework, and as I promised, we're going to now go inside of Honeybook, and I'm going to share with you how to. Oh, yay! I see a comment. I'm glad that this is helpful. I'm glad that this is helpful. And I told y'all I'm trying to get better with showing graphics to help with giving you some visual aid. So I'm going to now go into my Honeybook and let's share screen. Okay, now share screen. And let me put my face here. Or I like this one better. Okay, so for those of you that are using Honeybook, um, one thing first, I want before we get into this example, if you're still just using legacy files, it's time to update and upgrade. We should not be using legacy anymore. Because that's literally like 2.5 years old. A lot of the automation 2.0 is on, well, not a lot. The only way your automations 2.0 work is with smart files. So one, first upgrade those, upgrade your smart files, your legacy files into smart files. And if you're still using the old automation, it's time to get to automation 2.0. The biggest difference between automation, the old automations and automation 2.0 is that you have one, all of the new innovation is going only into automation 2.0. And the best part about automations 2.0 is that you have if then uh, if then conditionality in it. So I don't want these words to be big. So if then conditionality means if you have a client doing one thing, if they complete that thing, then it goes down the yes column. And if they don't complete that thing, they're going down the no. So we are going to use my account right now, my own event business account, but we're going to act as if I have an event venue, or I guess we can just act like I am an event planner, keep it simple. Honeybook does have the ability to help you with doing some AI build outs, and they do also have some templates and things like that. I am a certified Honeybook expert and pro, so I don't personally use them, and if I had to be transparent, I haven't tried them, so I can't tell you with honest experience how the AI functionality with the Automation 2.0 works. If you do use it, comment and just let me know because I think that'll be helpful for everyone else. And I probably should, but I just don't. All right, so I usually just come in and I create from scratch, but as you see, they have inside of here all of these different steps. So if you got booking, they have, again, all of these broken steps. So I'm just going to start from scratch. So the reason why we had all of the conversation that we had before, let me see, can I move this over? let me do, because I want y'all to see it because my face was covering it. Okay. Um, or let me see if I do this. It won't let me move. Okay, I'm gonna have to do this just for y'all. Okay, so the reason why we started this whole conversation today on, and I just want to check on live stream. Okay, awesome. Okay, so the reason why we started with the 4 stage framework is because I 1,000% do not recommend just coming into Automation 2.0 without taking out pen and paper and you writing out your workflow. Because that's how I started it. You don't just go into a system without having clarity or anything written out. You just don't. Do not do it. Write out your workflow first and come inside of Automation 2.0. The way that I look at Automation 2.0, which is different than the old automation, is that the old automation was linear. So you can write this one long workflow and it will work pretty okay. With Automation 2.0, I like to look at it as a relay race. So you have small legs of a flow happening where you're passing the baton from one thing to the next. So I'm just going to call this, let me put my, this is so funny, y'all. I have like a tablet and 2 things and my cell phone. All this thing. So let me see. I'm going to call this test inquiry. Or like if you have multiple services, which some of you do have. So let's say if you are on your inquiry form, you say that the main services you have is event coordination, like day of coordination, full wedding planning, and then event decor, 3 different project types. You could have it that you can do event decor inquiry, and then you can have one that says um, event coordinator inquiry. The reason why I like to list them clearly is because I want to know why this workflow is working and what is its intentionality. So with Automations 2.0, as you can see, is that there are different triggers that will actually start an automation. And again, if you don't have it clear, I don't know how else this is going to make sense to you. So let's say this is my inquiry process, and I'm going in here to create that when anyone comes through my lead form, because I know some of y'all are still using contact forms, like I would say 80% of the people that come to me are, as a Honeybook expert, are still, they're either, I mean, I would say a small fraction of people are new to Honeybook. And those that have already been using Honeybook, I would say about 80% of those individuals have still been using legacy files, and or they have 50 different smart files that are not complete, that have random things in it. So this is why, again, I say you want to go and write out your workflows first so that you know what are the smart files I need. How do I design them? You just want to have that clarity before you start to create. So if for lead form, I can specify which specific lead form I would want. So I can come in here and say this is for anyone that comes to, I have a calendar audit that I offer for my clients. I can specify which specific type. So if I wanted it that someone's coming to me through here and they're coming to me for consulting services or a VIP day. So let's just say VIP day. So again, I'm going to say test VIP. So if someone comes through that audit, I know that the first thing on that actual inquiry form that they can actually schedule a time to talk with me. So if I know that they can schedule a time to talk with me, then I would want it to be that the first workflow, the first thing I would want them to know is I would have action, and that I would want to have a new lead email, which is already there. If you don't have if you don't have that email already created, and as you see, I like to clearly list the title, the purpose for that specific, or I guess you'll say the purpose or project type, or end use person, end use individual or stakeholder, however you want to word it, dash the purpose for that email, because I want to be able to clearly be able to find them, and not name it weird things. So what I would then do is have audit new lead email. I can toggle if I wanted to require approval or not by toggling this off or on. But of course, I want it off because if this is someone coming through my new lead, my audit thing. I will. I don't want. I know that they can schedule. They on my lead form for that. They actually can schedule their date and time already. So I need immediately just them to know I received their message. So I could do that, or what I could do is create email template. Or what I like to do, even when I'm doing build outs for people. So because this is a test, I would say test VIP new lead email copy. And then I might not need, and the reason why I think this is a hack for me is because it will create the emails that I need. And then all I have to then do is go into my template section and actually write out those emails after the fact. So that is a really great tip for you. So I want my auto response to be is letting them know to schedule, that they scheduled a time, and I look forward to it. In some of my own workflows, I have when someone comes through a lead form that they already scheduled a time to talk. I have my brochure go with that email. So it might say, "Thanks again for reaching out. You've already scheduled your consultation with me. Here's a brochure to review some of our services, and we look forward to talking to you." That way, they're going into your calls informed about what you do, so that way you're able to um, I think there's some value in making sure people are informed prior to each call. So, like, if I need to get a questionnaire for a client for onboarding, so for those of you that are planners, or photographers or whatever, like if I find, at least from anyone I've worked with and supported, after their client has made a payment, they try to then do an onboarding call or something of that nature. I always tell them have the client complete the onboarding questionnaire and then have a scheduler at the bottom. The reason why I recommend this is so that now when you get on that planning call with them, you're not going into it blind. Instead of it taking, an hour, you can probably knock it out in 30 minutes because you can just review their answers to get more clarity instead of you having to start from zero on that call. So again, let me just go back to this example. So the initial response is that I want to have this new lead email to go to them. And if I wanted to, I'll just to have a smart file. Let's do, um, I have a welcome brochure already. And then I can do, I called it what, test? And then that email can go with that. So that would be, and then what I could then even do is move. I didn't mean to do that. Oh, yeah, I did. I can then move it to a pipeline, which is meeting. And the reason why I would do that is, so I do like to, I love actually using move pipeline stage because it allows for me to move things along the way without me having to manually do it, based on the project type, the service type, what a client completes or they don't complete. It just allows for me to easily be able to go into my pipeline and see exactly what is necessary. So for my inquiry process, if this is what it was, if this is all I needed, this is how I would keep it simple and that specific stage. All right, so now let's act as if this is no longer the inquiry. we're going to do consultation. So, like I mentioned, your workflows are looking at it like it's a relay race, because we don't know when the person's scheduling a consultation. So I can't say wait 5 days, wait 4 days. Like, I don't know when they're scheduling consultation. So what I would then do is have test VIP. Instead of it being that someone's coming through my lead form, I would then do session ends, specific session. Let's just say calendar audit, or um, 30 minute. So as you can see, you can specify multiples. So if I wanted it that way, I can even say specific project types if I wanted to, or specific tags if I wanted to. And I am going to be doing a video on Green Eyed Vision this week. I'm going to record it today. And it's going to be going over the tags and how to use them, because that would take a long time on this video, and I don't want this to really go over an hour, hour and 20 minutes or so. So I would say to make sure that you keep an eye out for that. But tags are a great way to, again, guide things along the workflow. So your project types and your tags help the automation know that this is intended for this specific service. Like, the clearer you are with your automation, almost automatically helps with avoiding misfires, and the wrong information going to your specific clients. And if that doesn't make sense, please feel free to comment, and I will be happy to share that information, answer that question while we're still on this live or on the recording. So what I would say is, once this session ends, so instead of this, I'm going to now do an email. So what some people will typically do is, after they have their consultation, I will tell them the next step is that you want, create task, boom, the task, send proposal to client. You might be like, well, that makes sense, Jesse. I just got off a sales call. I should automatically be sending the client a proposal. Yes, you should. But how many people, be really honest with yourself. When you're really busy, have you always, right after a call, sent a proposal to someone? When we're busy, sometimes we're having to remember to do it. How much brain capacity is it taking to remember things that you just think that you naturally are doing, compared to allowing technology to support you? So I would usually have send proposal to client. The reason why is because real life situations occur where we do not remember to send a proposal, or it might be weeks later. I mean, I've heard it all working with people. I've been a Honeybook Pro now for 5 years. I've heard it all. So we would have send proposals to a client. Once you mark off that task, this is where the condition would fall. So I would then say, if in 3 days, if first payment, so you can decide, is it contract signed, first payment? Again, it all depends on your specific business and the service in which you offer. So if it is first payment, I would say which file, especially for those of you that have multiple proposals. As you see, I have multiple proposals. So I would then do this, my event invoice. And so if client makes a payment, what happens? This is why you should already have it written out. What happens once the client makes their first payment? It should be confirmation. Boom. I don't need to require it, but if no, I can have first follow-up. And then I can say 3 days later, oops, didn't mean to do that. Delete. action. I can say second proposal. Oh, do I not have one? Because I actually, in my life, what I typically have is call client to ensure proposal was received. Okay. And then I typically will tell people wait a few days. And if they still haven't, I then archive project and I'll say no response. You can require approval or you cannot. Again, it depends on your business type and your client experience. So the way that this if then technology works is that it will wait that in 3 days, if the client does not make a payment, it will go down this pathway. If any day between that day to the next 3 days that client makes a payment, they will automatically get this booking confirmation no matter what. And then what will happen is that in 3 days, it will send this to them. Then what will happen is that the technology will go back and say, okay, it's been another 3 days. Has the client paid? No, they haven't. We're going to then do this step. But if they have, the system would have already sent them the booking confirmation automatically. And then, of course, it's just the same thing. So that really between the last automation we went through and the consultation automation, that would be your inquiry process. Again, it would look different for those of you that have people come through your inquiry form and then they're now completing a questionnaire so you can get more details, or you're doing a call, send them an email to then schedule a time to call to talk. Again, I know everyone does it differently. Like almost no one does things the same. But this is why you want to take the pen and paper to have more clarity about what your specific business does. Okay, so essentially, all you would do is take this same framework and mindset for each part. So, like for the onboarding, we have this booking confirmation. So, what I would then do, if I saved it, then I would say test VIP onboarding. So what I would then do is like, okay, this booking, delete both. So I can have what starts this trigger of that phase is that the first payment is paid. I would, in my world, I have create workspace for team members. I think I have check availability and create workspaces. That's the first step in my onboarding process. And I have that I wait 2 days. And then I have, boom, vendors booked. And then if I wanted to, first payment, and I said that we were doing project type, community VIP day. This would be any time that specific invoice, and I want to also say specific file. Again, you can make this as granular or broad as you want, but the more specific you are, it allows for your automations to not misfire. So I have a specific project type and a specific invoice that gets paid. That is, the system's automatically going to tell me that I need to check availability for those vendors. Then it will wait 2 days to then verify if those vendors were booked. And then what I can then do is have, which is in my actual workflow, is that I can then move it to staff confirmed, or with that specific thing, that's a consulting service that I do inside of my business. My event business, I do consulting as well. So I would have it go to consulting. And then I could then, how I mentioned earlier in onboarding, I could have in queue a email that's actually giving the client details of what to expect next. So that's why I said to think about your workflow is like it's a relay race. You're going from one thing to the next thing, not this long like overwhelming process. But if you don't have clarity, all of this is going to be confusing if you don't know what you want your client experience to be. Okay, so as some more examples, let me go here. All right, as some more examples when it comes to the workflows. With onboarding, then you can have a proposal with some upsells go. Not onboarding, I'm sorry, with execution. Often, depending again on the type of service, when you're building out your execution, it can be internal a task. So if you are a planner, it can be making sure you get your rentals. It can be following up with your event assistants, like whatever those steps are for your specific business. All right, then you can also have, if there's vendors that are other vendors that are going to be coming or a part of this actual event, you can have those tasks as well. But always remembering that it's not only just at the heart of it, not only just internal tasks, but this is also going to be your client touch points that are going to be the key for you. So, really being able to have timeline confirmations that are necessary for your client, any logistical checklists that are necessary for the client as well. And then for your offboarding, again, you would just follow the same process that I gave. So having a thank you email after the service, then also asking for a review request probably 3 days prior. And then you can also have a review questionnaire that's happening maybe 14 days later. I personally recommend for people when it comes to offboarding that you want to typically have at least 3 touch points over a 60 to 90-day period to stay at the forefront where you're either asking for referrals, letting people know about them being a VIP, or trying to prompt them to rebook with you um, in the flow. So my key takeaway about this is that Honeybook isn't just a workflow, it's a delivery system for your workflow that you've already created. So it's going to only put to life what you've already created once you put it inside of the platform. And it does a really great job at it. But so the clearer you are, will allow for there to be more clarity in the system to ensure that it works the way that it's supposed to work. Okay, so as we're wrapping up, I did want to really help with giving you, I guess, some more direction. As I mentioned, I do have that free webinar that's going to be happening on Saturday. So if you want to learn more about the data side of your business, my goal is so you not to feel overwhelmed. My goal is so you to feel empowered and probably have some light bulbs that come up like, dang, I didn't know I should have been doing this, because that's why I'm here to support you. So if your system is feeling overwhelming and you really don't have any clarity, it's really just usually because you haven't really thought about this business logic in your business. And it's hard to put anything inside of a system where there is not clarity. So you really want to have or take the time to work on your workflow first. Get paper and pencil so that you don't feel overwhelmed going into the system to get things to work. So take pen and paper to actually write out your workflow and think it through. Think through the times where things have fallen through the cracks so that you're ensuring that that doesn't happen. You want to make sure that you're learning from mistakes. So be honest. Like, what are some of the things that are stressing you out with executing your services? What are some things that could be done better? What are some things that you could be doing a little bit more consistently? And then once you do that, write those things out, then you go to your automations. That's the last step, is going into the automations, but you don't want to just go inside of your system without actually having any automations out there. So If you, so if today has helped you with seeing your business differently, please comment and let me know. Like I'm trying to get better with these lives, really to show more information to help y'all with being able to grow in Excel. And if this still isn't making sense, as I mentioned, I have the free workshop, but I also do Honeybook build outs. I do system audits, strategy sessions, because I get that all of this isn't natural for everyone. And that's not how everyone thinks through processes. And sometimes it takes an outsider to look at or make recommendations so that it doesn't have to be as complex or overwhelming as you think it is. So I hope to see you at the CEO Operation Map this Saturday to help with giving you more clarity. And if you are planning on going, comment CEO in the chat so I know that this conversation has been impactful for you and that I possibly see you this weekend in the conversation. Alrighty, so I hope that this has been helpful for you, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. And I will also in the one of the comments, I will comment the actual link so that if you want to be live and get a free audit, but you got to be on live with me. That will be available. Or if you want to pose a question for a topic that I should cover next in the next 2 weeks, you're more than welcome to click on that link and drop your question or apply to be on my live stream. All right. I hope that I see you this weekend and talk to you again.